Applying to become a police officer takes massive effort. You commit 6 to 12 months to rigorous physical testing, psych evaluations, and background checks. Committing to this process is a gamble if a visible neck or face tattoo triggers an automatic rejection the moment you walk into the room. For decades, Canadian policing required applicants to be a blank slate. Officers were expected to project absolute visual neutrality with zero personal expression. As of 2026, the RCMP has officially abandoned that blank slate model. They now evaluate applicants based on a shared value standard instead of a strictly identical appearance. The NATH forced their hand. The prime recruiting demographic of 18 to 35-year-olds has a high prevalence of body art. To successfully push 895 cadets through Depot Division every year, the RCMP can no longer afford to turn away qualified people over cosmetic choices. But there is a clear trade-off. You trade a simple, no visible ink location rule for a highly subjective, intense interview where a recruiter will dissect exactly what your tattoo means. Because these standards vary wildly right now between municipal and federal agencies, applying blindly is a massive risk. You need to strategically compare your alternatives to see where you actually fit. If you want to pursue uniformed service in Canada, your options generally split into three main pathways: municipal police, the RCMP, and the Canadian Armed Forces. This comparison matrix shows the strict baseline for municipal agencies. They operate on a conservative model, automatically flagging face, neck, and hand placements with a fail. Getting an exception usually requires written permission directly from the chief constable. Contrast that with the Canadian Armed Forces column, which holds the most permissive federal standard. The CAF explicitly allows tattoos on the face, neck, hands, and even the sclera of the eye. The modern CAF uniform standard permits facial hair and a relaxed presentation, signaling a departure from the traditional clean-cut military appearance. Now map the RCMP's official written policy right into the middle of our matrix. It completely lacks location-based bans, clearing all body placements with a pass. However, the Uniform and Dress Manual is under review, meaning unwritten rules may still apply. Aiming for federal service like the RCMP or CAF saves heavily tattooed applicants the thousands of dollars and physical pain of laser removal. The trade-off is that you severely restrict your ability to police your own hometown. The RCMP evaluates your ink based on what it says, rather than where it is placed on your body. That content is the only thing they officially test. To judge that content objectively, the RCMP uses an exact legal benchmark, Section 3 of the Canadian Human Rights Act. Any imagery that incites hate, harassment, or discrimination based on race, religion, sex, or sexual orientation is an automatic, hard disqualifier. They also connect this tattoo screening directly to your background check. Gang-affiliated symbols or organized crime imagery will immediately fail your application. Then you have the gray area of ambiguous ink. If you have military warrior themes or heavily stylized tribal art, the meaning isn't always obvious at first glance. Context is mandatory. You have to be prepared to sit down, look a recruiting officer in the eye, and openly explain the meaning behind your body art. Scrutiny has moved away from physical aesthetics and landed on moral character and legal compliance. This policy shift also clarifies the rules around cultural body markings and religious items, highlighting the federal government's push to make uniformed programs inclusive. Specific cultural expressions are officially protected. Inuit face tattooings, for example, are explicitly named as permitted in federal guidelines. Spiritual items like a kirpan, a kara, or a medicine bag are now treated as standard baseline uniform allowances. You no longer need to jump through special exemption hurdles to wear them. In practice, these spiritual and cultural items receive the exact same mundane policy clearance as an officer wearing a standard medical alert tag. However, there is an absolute hard limit to all aesthetic, cultural, and religious freedoms: operational safety. Bulky jewelry, certain facial piercings, or thick beards can physically break the vital seal of a tactical mask, exposing you to airborne hazards. Ballistic helmets and tactical respirators must function perfectly to keep you and your unit alive. If an item creates a snag hazard or breaks a seal, you have to remove it. Under the RCMP's modernized policy, Cultural identity is celebrated, but physics and operational safety will always override personal expression. Let's synthesize the rules around placement, content, and safety into a final, actionable decision path. This flowchart shows the gates. First, does the tattoo violate human rights or show gang affiliation? If yes, abandon the application. Second gate, placement. Culturally specific or heavy face ink routes you to the CAF or RCMP. Easily hidden ink clears you for municipal forces. Remember the final trade-off. Passing the RCMP's inclusive tattoo test means you are accepting a federal deployment anywhere in Canada. If you have edge case facial or neck tattoos, contact an RCMP recruiter immediately to check your specific ink against the ongoing dress manual review before starting the heavy paperwork. The 2026 policing landscape no longer demands identical clones. You can evaluate the options and apply to the